Hey folks, welcome back to another Dice Tower preview. I'm Mark, and today we're taking a look at Eve, War for New Eden, which is brought to you by Titan Forge Games. It's for 2 to 4 players, ages 14 up, and games generally run about 90 to 180 minutes. In the endless expanse of the universe, among the swirling nebulas and ancient stars, lies New Eden, a place where history and future collide, where ambitions meet the unforgiving vacuum of space. Here, empires thrive and dwindle under the gaze of the timeless stars, and the only constants are power, conflict, and the undying will to endure. In War for New Eden, you will lead a faction with the goal of dominating all your rivals. Your empire will grow with each system you explore, conquer, and enhance with structures. You will amass wealth by gathering, trading, and manufacturing resources. You will research cutting-edge developments to support your strategic objectives. All this in order to deploy formidable fleets of spaceships that will engage in spectacular showdowns. Every ploy that establishes your power will award you victory points, and the first player to accumulate 10 victory points will rule New Eden. So yes, this is the board game version of Eve Online. Come to your tabletop. Now, I played the video game. Now, it's been well over 10 years since I played, but they did a really good job transferring what I remember of the game to the tabletop. And a lot of the things are going to be here that you'll recognize if you know the video game, but the same feel, especially as you engage in battles, as that kind of drills down and gets in some nitty gritty about what you're doing. I really like that. It will seem very familiar in some ways. Obviously, it's a different game, but they tried to capture that feel, which they did a nice job of. Now, one of the neat things about the board setup is the fact that all the sectors in space will be flipped face down, so you'll have this actual exploration feel as you move into the different sectors. Now, what's also neat is on the back of each of these sectors, it'll show you what it costs you in fuel or movement, so to say, in order to get to that next hex, and then flip it over and do various things. But I really like this aspect. Again, it has that kind of fog of war as you move, and you feel that exploration vibe. Now, the framework around the board is nice because this is where you'll find your home bases for the various different types of factions that you put in play, which all have very different ships, different looking ships, I would say, and their own unique cards and so forth for that faction. All color coded as well, and you'll also find tactical areas for when you do engage in combat, and then a cost for manufacturing, building, I should say, ships, buildings, putting out different types of manufacturing to gather goods that you might need, like building materials, and then turning around and potentially trading them and selling them to get more credits that you need. Now, credits are named something different in this game, but I'm gonna call them credits as we move forward just because it's ease of use and when I talk about stuff. So you'll see though that this guide around the board is so fantastic for knowing exactly what you're gonna need when you try to buy or manufacture goods. So obviously that comes in very handy as you move through the game, and you don't have to reference the rulebook much because it's all plainly here, especially when you're building lots of ships or buildings, things of that type. Now, it is very much a resource game, and this video is going to be very much an overview because there's so many intricacies about what you're going to be doing, but it does come down to just performing one action on your turn, and then it moves around the table. So that makes the game move very quickly, which I like quite a bit. So resources, you have this resource panel here where you have various types of material that you're going to be mining from asteroid belts, some that you have already around your bases, and you'll have to unlock more. So every upkeep phase, you'll be able to gather these resources. Now, you do have a limit of how many types of the resources you can hold, but it does give you lots of options. The basic ones being the green, yellow, and gray or brown. Those are the basics, and the red being a little more harder to acquire. And you'll see that on the cost analysis around the board, that some of the red ones will just really dominate what you need in order to fulfill something. So you've also got like building materials, you've got planetary materials, you've got stars, and then you've got research tokens that you'll be acquiring as resources as well through the course of the game. And also research tokens will be acquired at the end in the upkeep phase of every round. So you will have access to these as well as the money that you generate and so forth. So, and of course, there's various different types of buildings that you'll be able to tap into, things like a refinery to give you more types of resources that you can get on your turn. So it does turn into this engine building, generating all kinds of things so you can build out your fleet and become bigger and better. Now let's take a close look at one of your faction boards, because you're really going to be playing a lot from these boards. So you'll see that all your actions that are available to you are right here. which is fantastic. Now you'll have some cards that allow you to do some extra things as well, but really the primary of what you're doing is here, and it is a 4X game, so all the things you might expect, like moving, you can claim areas, you can extract goods and resources, so to say, manufacturing, trade, you can build and research. So those are going to be your main actions in everything you're doing in the game. And then of course there's cubes to track all that. You have 3 free actions that you don't have to pay for. You just place the cube in the action you're going to perform. And if you're moving ships, a fleet of ships, they will become exhausted, so you can't move them again, but you could use the second move action to move a different fleet of ships. So I like that some of these are repeatable, not all of them, but some are. And you'll see that you'll also be able to spend credits. If you are wealthy, perhaps, you can outperform the other players at the table by spending a little cash in order to get even more actions on your turn. And all your credits can be tracked and everything at the bottom of the board. So it really keeps everything nice and consistent and contained, I should say is what I mean, right here for easy access. And again, you don't really need to look at the rule book because you've got all the things you're going to be doing right here on your player board. So it's really that straightforward. You take one action, do what it says, and it moves on to the next player. So I like that a lot. And then there's a secondary board that you'll be accessing quite frequently, and this is where your active development is going to be happening. It's kind of your tech tree for the game. You'll see that this is also where the track when you can start to build medium and heavy ships, as well as warp drive. You'll have a tier 1 and tier 2 for your offense, defense, utility systems for all your ships, give you all kinds of things you can tap into upgrading your ships and so forth, as you'd expect. Now, the really neat thing about this game that I liked a lot is this whole active development area. And you have a lot of interesting choices around this, how you want to play the game. You have a huge stack of cards that you can tap into, and really so many different ways to take your faction in whatever direction you see fit. Maybe you want to be a warring faction and go heavy combat, or maybe you want to be all about defenses so you can withstand all those attacks from your neighbors. And maybe you just want to be diplomatic. You want to thrive on peace. So many different ways to actively build up your empire and tackle this game. And that's one of the neat things, is that it really changes up every time you play, and a lot of options to you how you want to engage with the game and your fellow players. Now let's talk ships. Again, another one of my favorite parts is the fact that you start with all light ships, okay? And you'll have to evolve your tech tree and such to build those medium and heavy ships. Now there's all kinds of stats around these ships, and a couple that I really like, but in general this all becomes very intuitive. It might seem a little daunting at first, but it shows your health, your speed. It shows how much damage you can defer basically by blocking or shields or whatever it might be, but it is a reduction in damage. And then how hard the ship really is to hit. I like all that aspect, and I really like too the fact that you have different types of dice based on the ships that you're using. So the light ships are going to be using the white dice. The medium is using a combo of the white and black, and heavy ships are heavy hitters, so they're all using the black dice. Now, it just changes up the faces around those dice about why and how you use them. So the white dice are going to be better on targeting, and the black dice will be better about performing damage, heavy hitting damage. So I like that. And one of the really neat things about how combat works is that, there's a lot of steps. It's very strategic, but there are these areas on the side of the board that you will be placing ships in, the lead ship and the support ships behind it. So the support option stat of these ships will show how many dice you get to add to the dice pool when tacking back and forth. So it really is this neat strategic drill down kind of a battle back and forth. So I like that aspect a lot, and of course there's many steps around how battling works, but just know that that adds this different type of strategic element to the game as you battle and try to get victory points, because winning a battle will get you one of those victory points. And you do have opportunity to retreat, so when two factions meet on a sector or a tile, then those battles will ensue. Now, through the course of the game, you're going to be acquiring mission cards and event cards. Event cards are going to be kind of bonuses that you get to acquire, and there's various ways. I mean, it is a manufacturing way in order to get those cards, but you're going to start the game with them as well. And those mission cards are ways to get victory points. So there's lots of different paths that you can take with those cards as well. Now, those are really the basics of everything you're doing in the game, and I want to show you what one of these tiles looks like. So let's use the movement action. In order to move into the sector, we need a movement of 2. We're going to move our fleet into here, and we'll move them in and put an exhaust token there. and then you'll see that there is a discovery icon. You get to pull one discovery token from the bag, and in this case we get extra coin. We'll mark that on our board and discard this token. And there's also meteor or asteroid belt that you get to pull and put here, giving you resources if you take control of this area. That is another action available to you, is to take control of the area. And once you do, then you'll gather those resources from that asteroid belt, as well as have the ability to build a building here, like a refinery, and pull different resources from the planets or moons that are in orbit in this particular sector. So that's really what that looks like. And again, you're going to be putting together all these different actions in order to gather those victory points through the course of the game, in various ways to do that, by commanding or controlling and taking on your enemy. Actually controlling the middle of the board is one of the things you can do, and all those mission cards and various ways to do that in order to get those victory points. And it really is an interesting mix of this tug of war back and forth. How much can you do? How much is your fellow players going to allow you to do? And you're going to constantly be battling back and forth about trying to get the right resources and build up your engine so you can get the victory points when you need them the most. All right, folks, just a reminder once again, this has been a Dice Tower paid preview, and everything you've seen here has been in prototype form, so keep a close eye on the campaign for any changes that still may occur. Now, with that said, this was an amazing prototype, and I can't wait to see what the final product looks like based on how amazing this was. So I was really impressed with what they're doing and the direction they're going in this game, especially the fact that I played the online version. I definitely got the same vibe, and again, it's been a while since I played, but I really like the fact too that you have easy reference on all the things you're doing, you're building, the ships you're building, the manufacturing, the trading. Really, you know what you're doing without a lot of heavy looking back to the rule book. And the steps are straightforward. Gameplay is pretty quick because you get to perform one action and then it moves on and you move around the table again until everybody passes, moving to an upkeep phase where you get ready for that next round. So it definitely is a well done 4X game that moves really quick. But folks, ultimately, if it looks like something of interest to you, I'm sure they'd appreciate your support. So I think that's it from me, and until next time, we'll see you at the table.